Welcome to part 5. Looks like we got everything cured on this. I just went over it to get any kind of dust marks off. And it looks like we're doing okay. Just a little bit of dust overnight, but it's nice and cured. It's got a nice little sheen to it. Also, I took a piece of acrylic. This is something you buy at your local plastic stores. They sell it by the pound. I just cut it on the scroll saw real quick and laid some satin primer on it, and it's going to eventually be a plaque that'll say the Hoffman avatar of amalgamation, so it'll identify. I don't know if I'm going to put it up on there. We'll figure something out. It might be just up right there underneath the base, and it kind of blends in. Then I'm going to do some kind of getting some inkjet clear paper. I'll do a whole thing on that later on and try to get it to look like a etched gold. And now I pull out some silly putty, and then I have some parafilm. I don't know if anyone uses this stuff. I've seen this is used in labs. Have you ever had blood taken and they put those stoppers on? They put that little piece of like looks like cellophane over it. It's this stuff. And I'm gonna get enough of this out, and I'm gonna start protecting the bottom of the base. Also, I need to open up this silly putty over here. Got one open. I'm not sure if I'll need both of these or not. These are awesome for masking because they do not pull the paint off. Never had a problem with it. And hopefully with a cured, overnight cured varnish, won't have any problem with that. It looks like I have it'll probably be enough in this one. And as you can see, I've used this before. It's got some kind of paint particles or something on it. I think that's sand. It might be from some other masking I did in the past. So let's start getting this off. And this stretches nicely over everything. I probably won't need all of it, but I just want to get some holes. I have to use definitely use some silly putty later on. I didn't need all that, so let me get my scissors. It kind of sticks to itself really nicely, and we can go and patch parts of it up, which I'm probably going to do right now since I still have more of this ready to go. This will make it a little bit easier. So I have like this edge right there, and the stuff's like really stretchy, but it looks like it goes through the corners. Goes right through it, so you got to be a little careful with it. So it kind of adheres nicely to the surface, but it will pull away without damaging. And I heard that snap off real quick. So watch it. Oops. There's a little piece I just pulled off. We'll reinforce that corner there. There we go. I'll do another little piece here. You could use this regular plastic wrap for this, but this, as you can see right here, it's really, really nice stuff to use. If you can get I don't know how big of a roll I have, 250-foot roll, and I'm using maybe 18 inches of it. So this will last a long time. And what I want to do with the silly putty here is kind of want to give it a, not a definite edge. I'm just going to use this basically just to kind of help reinforce everything. I'm gonna not torture you with this, and I'll be back. Hi, we're back. Okay, everything's masked off. Got the silly putty going. I got some really thinned down PVA glue. I got a little tub of Santa Cruz, California beach sand. Picked it up years ago, and it lasts forever. Little medicine cup. I deformed it to have a nice little pour spout in it. And then I got one of my cheaper brushes. I don't know who this is by. It's some Chinese brush. But it's got a decent point on it. And if I destroy it, no big deal. And first of all, I want to start going down in here. And just putting a little line of glue. And then filling in these cracks. I'm going to go over the whole thing. So I just want to have a nice little, kind of like have this base blend into the top of the display base to blend into the bottom. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not trying to do like I said, I'm not doing a perfect edge or anything. We're going to be airbrushing the color, and then get some of the hide some of the texture from the MDF and the cork. Like I've said a few times in my videos, and what I've experienced in a few competitions that I've been in, it's okay to use cork, but cork should not look like cork when the judges are looking at it, if that makes sense. It's a great material. It adds texture to it, but you got to change it up a little bit. You don't want it to be identified. We're trying to mimic nature or something man-made, but not the actual material we're using. Got a little tub of water here. Got a towel behind me to keep the brush clean. Then we can scoop up some of the sand and just gently and there we go. Looking good. Okay, now I'm going to try to get the sand back into this bucket. This is an old paper plate, and save them. Kind of use it over and over. You can throw it away, but what I want to do now here is get on the top of the base. You see where I put paper clips in where I'm going to be mounting the model, so we're not going to lose those holes. And I'm going to try to, I might need to water this glue down a little bit more. Or what I might have to do is this, let's see if I can get a little more water in there. I'm going to have to do is probably just wipe these down. Let this all get in here. Really get the outside edges that we want the sand to stick to. show the back of this area here where the see the archway, and we have a little bit of just whatever's got bare MDF. I just want to get a little bit of this texture on here. And this is not like playground sand. This is very fine. So I kind of like how it's a little more to scale. Because playground sand, if you ever look at it at a 28 miniature, it's like big stones. And they're going to be snapping their ankles on it. So I got a little paper towel right here. I have a feeling this is going to be a mess anyways. The sand will kind of grab onto this. We're going to have to clean it. It's okay we have a little bit of sand on top because it's going to be a little extra texture and interest. We'll try to just feed it into these little cracks. Let me see where the silly putty, I don't know if it's going to make it after this usage because it's got a lot of particles on it. Shit, what am I doing? Let's okay, then we're going to have to go in and wipe it down too. But like I said, we want a little bit, because we want some interest to the brick, and it's an old ruin, so it's okay if there's, like, you know, the little particles here and there, but we don't want it all inundated with the sand everywhere and cover it up and lose that detail and the separation. There, looking better. But see, we got to see, we have some areas here now we can replace. I can see, like, I want to go get some glue into there. There's little patch areas we want the sand to stick to again. I see some area right here too. Grab out the scoop again. Probably going to do another layer on it. I'm going to let this glue set and probably take this outside in the sun. Here in California it's going to be mid-80s today, so we got some nice sun to help cure this. Looking good so far. So as you can see, the cork and MDF is gone, and we have this nice grain texture. It's not too thick, but it'll look good, and according to scale. I still use playground sand for like rocky textures and other terrain pieces and stuff like that. But for this, as being a display piece, I really want to be careful not making it look goofy looking with just too thick a sand. It's all holding, and I'm carefully doing that because it is pinned and glued, but gotta be a little more careful. So we'll let that dry. I can see areas right here I don't want. I can clean that up a little bit. I've got a clean brush now. This kind of helps too. And glue's starting to set already. Nice. But kind of going in there like archaeologists and gingerly clean the sand away. That piece, we might need something different. Let me use like the sanding stick, a little harder. And that is it. We'll be back. Okay, we are back real quick. I let it stay out sun, maybe a couple hours. And now I'm going to take some really, really thin PVA. You can see it kind of just comes right off of there. And I'm going to basically treat the whole thing with it. And this is going to give it another layer of protection. And I might need to thin it out a little bit more. Hopefully you can't hear the talk radio in the background. I'm just going to do a really, I'm going to take this and work it into it because I don't want to lose the texture obviously, but I want to really, really protect it. I don't want to depend on the primer only. I might add water, more water to it. Probably gonna wipe these tile off again too, but I'm just gonna get some glue in to the recesses, especially these areas that are going to be on the corners that may be bumped or rubbed against. And I see in a little area here, I might add a little more sand to it. So I'm going to get this out of the way. And then add my little scoop on there. Sand. A little amount. I'm going to try to clean this brush off on a towel so I can see I'm getting some running. I think what I might do also is just throw some sand in all these little areas where it's starting to go down the base, because that's not going to be touched very much. And so we got that sand kind of blending down into the wood itself, which is kind of what we wanted to do, because it's kind of just wanted it all kind of grooving together. Grooving, I guess. And then I'm going to take a paper towel at the top here and try to get as much of the excess glue off the tile itself. Still going to have a little coating on there, but we want to have some of that rough edge, and I don't know if I'm going to dry. I don't know if I'm going to dry brush. I'm going to probably airbrush it first and do some wet blending into it and some glazing to break up the monotony of the color. There. So I think that'll be the last of the sand work, and then after that we're going to be priming this bad boy. And I wanted to add some other stuff to the base. I'm not sure what I wanted. I thought I had some steampunk gears laying around, and I tore apart my workshop, and I cannot find them anywhere. I had like these 2 bags of gears for like jewelry making or something like that. I wanted to just put one laying out just to give it kind of like a little bit of a steampunk besides the gothic feel, but that's not going to happen, obviously. So I'll see you in the next section. Thanks. Okay, let it dry for about 4 hours. I took a large paintbrush to it and dusted some of the loose sand off, so we're not going to deal with that. And then I'm using Vallejo primer now. This is easier to use right out of the bottle than the Stynylrez. I might have a bad batch of Stynylrez, but it is a pain in the ass to prep it, to put it through any kind of airbrush. It's super, super thick. So right now I'm just hitting it with the black, as you can see. I'm trying to get all the anything underneath that has natural shading. As you're getting nice atomization, so it's working correctly. And I really want to get this black into these areas, so it makes my job easier with the paint. We'll have natural shading already in there. And I might have to like saturate some of these areas. I ran out of primer. I'm going to do a little more black. I want to get it nice and dark underneath, just to make sure we have no problems later on. Got a little needle tip dry going on. Should have prepped the needle with some airbrush medium, but that's okay. Well, the first cleaning we'll do that. Got those little grooves in there. Maybe do some pre-shading while we're here. We get into these stone areas too. So we got a little area under that rock. Don't have to worry about getting color in there if we don't want to. I'll have a natural, or not a natural shadow, but obviously a preset shadow. You know, we're going to start hitting this side with the gray anyways, but I just want to make sure we get all the nooks and crannies so we have no bare material to hit later. Well, I'm going to do a color change, and you've seen me prime before, just like I did with the miniature. So I'm going to basically do what you saw in the last parts with a different primer, obviously, and then we'll come back and show it to you. We're going to finish part 5 here. I have to make a comment about the Stynylrez. Hard to deal with, but it's a much better primer. I tried to use the gray surface primer by Vallejo and had trouble with it, so I toughed it out. I just cranked up the pressure on the Patriot and ran the Stynylrez through it, and it's hard to clean out of the brush. One thing, it sticks to everything, and it's not a lazy man's primer. Let's say that. It dries to a hard, flat finish. It says it on the bottle, and it is a rock hard surface. It's a little more hardcore than Vallejo's good stuff, but Stynylrez is way better. It's just when you want to prime something, that's not your thing to do. It's just something you want to get out of the way. But if you want a really good primer and that's going to hold up prior to manhandling while you're painting it, and really protecting the surface underneath the paint, and allowing a good substrate for paint to hit, Stynylrez is the way to go. I still use my Vallejo. I got a lot of it. I got a big giant bottle of gray somewhere, but this stuff just does not want to work for me today. So I went back to the Stynylrez. I went back to the Vallejo to do the white highlighting, and as you can see here, it's ready to go. So I'm going to end part 5 here, and then we're going to start painting this thing and adding accoutrements or accessories or something else to decorate it too besides just those 2 pieces. Maybe some roots. I'm looking. You'll see in the next part. As usual, thank you for joining me. We'll see you in part 6.